How do you homestead with little to no money? I get asked that question a lot, and I'm here to try to help you answer it. Although, like most answers, it's just not super simple, but yet it is. It's just not simple to do. What's up, guys? Nate Petrosky from Narrowway Homestead. This is my green screen. It's really just a patio door reflecting the trees in the woods behind me. I'm sitting on some fancy bench thing. Jen is going to wonder how I got it up here myself, but that'll be, maybe I can catch that on video. That conversation would be amusing. Anyway, let's get back to homesteading with no money. Unfortunately, homesteading with no money in today's world in the United States is virtually impossible. You will need some sort of money. But ideally, you just have a whole bunch of money that you can just put down on a property and buy all the stuff you need. And for a lot of you guys, you just can't figure out how to get to that point. I'll try to break it down real simple. There's two ways you can acquire money. You can make money and you can save money. Depending on your skill level, depending your whole situation, where you're at, sometimes it's difficult to make more money. There's only so many hours in a week. You can only spend so many of those hours actually working to get an income. And sometimes I see people, they're just like, I just pick up an extra job, and that's kind of cool. But sometimes it exhausts them, and so then they go out to eat more, and then it turns out that second job doesn't actually end up leading you to get more funding. It's kind of silly, but you end up not being able to save money because you spend more money just to have your second job. Let's get past all that. The main way, in my opinion, to homestead and be able to do it with little to no money is get started. You have to find a way to acquire either very cheap land somewhere or do rent to own. I hate owner financing. I hate bank loans. I hate working hard. Sometimes in life, all of those things are necessary for the average individual. And I have done, well, I haven't done the owner financing, but I've done bank loans, and obviously working hard is a requirement for life, at least to be successful. So you just have to do whatever it is. You got to do a bunch of research, live as cheaply as you can until you can figure out how to start homesteading. This other property I bought that is 3.5 acres, junk house. One of the things I want to do with content with that is show the whole finances of all that, and just actually show how I'm going to keep track of material costs. And I will have some labor because I'm going to pay some people to do stuff. But if you're skilled or even semi-skilled or just willing to work hard, you could do it yourself, save that labor. And I want to show how somebody could buy a cheap piece of property, do stuff to it, and then end up with a certain value. And then they could sell that homestead and go to another homestead. You know, purchase your dream homestead after you purchase your tiny little one. Kind of a starter homestead, if you will. So let me tell a little bit about my personal story and how I got here and how I think it would have been a better way for me to get here. I worked in the trades. I had my own business for 7 years. Ended up getting enough money by living frugally for a long time so I could actually afford this 100 acres at $1,000 an acre and just buy it outright. Ideally, I would have figured out I wanted to homestead much earlier in life, actually gotten something smaller and started from there, and then sold the homestead and bought another homestead, because I had, the skills to do renovation. I didn't totally have the discipline, so I was just kind of immature, is what it is. Sometimes that just catches up with you. But I'm not poor. I wouldn't say I'm extremely wealthy. The internet says I'm a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I could sell everything I own for a very high dollar. It doesn't equal $1 million. That's just the reality of it. But I ended up becoming more wealthy, well-to-do than I ever anticipated. And it's because of my frugalness and because I was able to be frugal living on a homestead. So let me explain. Let me back up. I have this property. It's free and clear. I owe $700 roughly on annual taxes for the land. My electric bill, gone. Water bill, gone. Sewer bill, gone. A Along with that, like even a high income tax bill gone, because I just wasn't making anywhere near as much. And the work that I put in 100% benefited me, as opposed to benefiting me 60% and the other 40% going to income taxes. So when I cut down a tree and used that for heating my building, it took labor to do that, but it wasn't me going to a job, making money, paying a heating bill, and of course, paying that heating bill with money after I had paid income tax on that money. Whereas here, it's directly 100% of that tree is mine for heat, and I'm not giving 40% of it to somebody else to heat my home. Homesteading is one of those lifestyles that it's very easy to be frugal in. It's also very easy to not be frugal in. In other words, you can spend money if you want to. But if you can eliminate all those bills, I haven't had an electric bill in 4 years. I will have to do some solar maintenance. It will cost. But if you can just get yourself to a place of homesteading, use less electricity, you can build a much smaller array than I have. You do need some funding to get started. There's no way around it. And if you do owner finance or bank finance your land, you are going to have a mortgage. But it should be considerably less than many places where you may have come from. There's a lot of places that you can buy a tiny house for a couple $100,000. If you're willing to travel and go somewhere where land is cheap like I did, you can just cut your bills tremendously. And so what ended up happening with me is I started a coffee roasting business out here because I need some income to keep going. I was going to do a lot of stuff physically myself. I was going to mill a bunch of trees. I mean, it was going to take me forever, but I could do that. What ended up happening was I started out with 3 different people here on the property. If you watch my What the Hell Happened series, you know all about it. I'm going to remaster that series at some point and put it all into one video. But anyway, what ended up happening was I ended up going through a divorce, having to buy out not only my previous spouse, but the other person that was here too was deeded on the property, and I had to buy her out as well. So I ended up mortgaging the heck out of this place, and I had, I was making some money through social media. It wasn't a lot. I was making some money through the coffee sales. Wasn't a lot. It was enough to sustain me, and I was getting into the beard care line. And what ended up happening was I had to mortgage everything like crazy, and all of a sudden, I have bills. But still, even with everything mortgaged, I was paying less than $1,000 a month, including all that, and including my food, because I can, harvest some stuff around here. I was really big into foraging and hunting, and all that stuff kind of just saves you a bunch. So all that happened to me, and all of a sudden my desire to make more money increased, where I was completely content before, just not really having that much, but I have the land. Like, what else do I need, right? Like, I can build what I want. I'm young enough to physically do stuff. So what ended up happening, and this is what I would encourage somebody starting out homesteading, at some point, you will get to a point where you want to do some kind of hobby. Make your hobby into a business. For me, coffee, beards, all this stuff's just kind of a given. I turn those hobbies into small business. And I realized once I was totally broke and in debt like crazy, and all by myself on top of it, I had to scale those things like crazy. And of course, social media had always been continually building and building and building. Just putting out videos pretty regularly, figuring out what people liked, figuring out what people didn't like. Videos like this typically are videos that people don't like, but I think they're valuable, so I make them anyway. Now watch, this will get like a bunch of views, and I'll be like, what? I thought this was going to be one of my low view videos. Anyway, so I'm going along through and just scaling these businesses. I am like living super poor as I can be, building out of pallets and everything else, but I was kind of already doing that. Next thing you know, these businesses scaled really good. I was putting a ridiculous amount of effort into them. And after about a year really only after about a year, I was really able to just start throwing all the profits into the mortgage that I had and into these loans and just get rid of them. And I never turned that machine off. So I'm still living in a really frugal way, but I never turned the income machine off. And then I discovered something that I would consider the best of both worlds, where I'm able to have a significant income and on the other side, have a ridiculously low cost of living. And in my mind, that is the ideal homesteading. If you can drop your cost of living really low, it'll give you some time to figure out some income. And even if your income is small at first, which it was for quite a while, you can keep growing it because you have the time to do so. And if it does grow into something big because you're putting in the effort and you're working hard, you'll find yourself with a decent income, which in your situation, because your bills are so low, is going to be a high income. And then if you're like me, you keep yourself so busy and you just enjoy doing frugal things and building with pallets and whatever, you'll find yourself too busy to even spend the money you are making. And that's like the perfect scenario. Too busy to spend the money you're making. You got yourself out of debt and you just never turn the income machine off. Just keep working on your small businesses. Keep growing them. And that's where I find myself. And I could have this income in my old life and it wouldn't propel me forward as hard as it does now because I'm homesteading and I can live so frugally. My big expenses have to do with internet. I have two sources of internet. I keep buying phones, cameras. I regularly spend money on things that are expensive. Those are business expenses. So until the business was proving itself, I wasn't spending. And then, of course, business expenses are business deductions or tax deductions. So I really just win all the way around. And at any point, if my businesses just flop, if social media goes away or just randomly stops paying anything at all whatsoever, I can still do all that. Maybe I can't be buying new phones and cameras regularly. However, I'll be able to get rid of, say, I'll just upload less videos, have only one internet, choose the cheap one that's only $23 a month. And I can get my expenses way back down there again if I need to. So I'm just hoping that this ramble on about how to start homesteading, like get yourself in a place where you do not have expenses. That is the best way to propel yourself into successful homesteading if you don't have much. I mean, even if you have to just buy an acre with owner finance and just get it paid off, and you really wanted 20 acres, but it's an acre and it's next to a junkyard and that really sucks. And okay, but you don't have to stay there. You just have to make sure that you bought property that you can improve the value on, or at least maintain it. But if you put up your own electric and you do these different things, and staying on the grid is an option. You don't have to go super hardcore immediately. It just depends on your skill set and your initial funds. I mean, you can always do part solar and part grid eventually. Just like, well, hey, I'll run this stuff during the day off of my small solar bank, but I still have the grid to fall back on if I really need to keep the refrigerator and freezer on at night, for example. So you could put a lot less upfront into your solar. There's a ton of different options, but don't be afraid to start your homestead small. No, it's not your dream homestead. Start there anyway. Get your bills to nothing. Get them low. Reduce the need to have a tremendous income, and then do your best to keep that income or get that income back. Even if you had to move, get that income back. Spend time trying to make that income happen again, because you'll be able to keep more of it. And now I'm at a point where I have to pay more income tax. So I was talking about not having to pay much income tax. Well, that just all went out the window once the businesses started doing good and whatever. It's just the cost of being successful at something, and I'm okay with it. It is what it is. That's why I've purchased certain things that seem extremely luxurious to some of you. Tax benefits. That's just reducing my need to pay income tax. Different strategies for that. That's not the point of this video. Once you get to that point where you're trying to figure out how to reduce your income tax, you've pretty much already won. You've accomplished the goal that you need to. I really hope this helps somebody. Like, go out there, start small with your homestead. You know, people are like, I'm afraid to buy land because then what happens if it doesn't work out? Well, then you sell land. Land, and it's not like going and buying like a brand new boat and then a year later you're like, I shouldn't have bought this boat, let me sell it, and you find out it's worth like half of what you paid because you scraped the hull up on this or that and you wasted so much money and gas for it. And land is different. Don't be afraid to buy land. Don't get totally like washed out completely on like terrible interest rates or just a bad first purchase or the price isn't right. But start somewhere. The real win is you getting your bills low so that you can work less and then do your own thing a little bit, maybe start your own business, or maybe you can work the same amount and save more and still work on your homestead. The path is going to be different for everybody, but I really think the ultimate key to homesteading is making your need for money go down. You'll never eliminate it, but you can make it go down. And then if you can find a way just to keep a business going, keep the income going, raise the income, even if it takes you a couple of years to figure that part out. You have to be motivated. You have to be a go-getter. You really have to be self-motivated. So you got to understand the commitment it takes. But you don't even have to homestead. You can give up after 5 years and be like, you know what? I'm done homesteading. I'm going back to the city. But if you cut your bills and you kept making money, but you just got tired of the life, you should still be in a better place, and you can sell the land 5 years later for the same or most, hopefully, a lot more. But yeah, everybody wants the big thing now. I want my 100 acres now. I want my 20 acres now. Well, steps. Life's full of baby steps until you get where you want to go. If you want to get to the roof, you have to climb the ladder one rung at a time. So hopefully this helps somebody. I really feel like it should. And yeah, cut your expenses. It's the secret to being able to get the homestead you want. And be patient. It may take you years to get there, and homesteading on a property you don't really care for. But it can be done. It can be done. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.